Hi, what's goody, everybody? This is Chiwaz, and you're tuning in to Oxen Brand Music.
How would you answer someone who is saying, "What do you mean when you say God is telling you?" Okay? But the same person who has some crystals in their pocket will say, "Man, I'm so glad that I had these crystals in my pocket because if I didn't, I would have got shot." And I said, "Do you feel like churches should focus more on the non-believer on that Sunday service because you know they're going to be there, or do you feel like it should be focused more on the believer, like Chiwaz?" Bro, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Yo, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bro, oh man. So I love the fact that you have several different times hopped up in the chat, you chop it up and all that.
Right.
I gotta come straight with you though.
Yeah.
So in preparing for this stream, all right, mind you, the most contact that I've had with you is via our Twitch stream.
Yeah.
And sometimes I see you on some IG lives or whatever, in the chat, but a majority of it is chat. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I've ever really clicked on your profile or nothing else.
Yeah.
Bro, when I was preparing for this stream, in context of the way you talk about not knowing technology or whatever else, I thought you were like way old, bro. I was like, yo, we about to get like this like 55-year-old artists on here. And I look and I'm like, this young buck, bro, how old are you?
Yo, I am actually 39 this year.
Okay, dang. So you my age, bro. You
Yes,
you my age. You a little older. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not calling him out in this show. I'm pointing out. I'm pointing out is what it is. All right. A call out is you didn't. I don't know. Whatever. So, anyways, bro,
Yes,
seriously, thank you for being here, man. Thank you for just who you are as a person. I mean, I know we're gonna really get to know about you through the stream, but shout out to the homie Adam. He spoke highly of you, in the comments, and then talked to some other people, offline stuff and all that. And bro, there are a lot of people who really look at you as like that dude, like the friend of a friend that you really, really genuinely need, bro. So shout out to you for being that, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So okay, let's go ahead and get into it, man. Let's tell yourself, tell about yourself, man.
Okay, so my artist name is Chiwaz, but I think a lot of people don't actually know my government name, right? So my actual name is Shepherd. That's my government name.
Shepherd.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so born and raised in a country in Africa called Zimbabwe. And so moved to Canada in 2015. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I've got 3 kids. 4.5-year-old. She's turning 5. Well, she's turning 5 in July, and then a 1.5-year-old boy, and then we just had our third in February. Another boy.
Congrats.
Yes, sir.
Congrats.
Yes, sir. So yeah, in a nutshell, I don't know if there's more I need to add there, but yeah. And so moved to Canada, and in 2021, just felt the Holy Spirit, just felt God speak to me and say, it's time to start doing music. I mean, I've been involved in the music industry for a couple of years, but just doing sound engineering, but also leading worship in church. That was mostly back in Zimbabwe, but never really thought much about me being an artist until I moved here. In 2015, I thought it was probably the right year for me to start, but then I felt like God said, yeah, you just need to wait. It's not the right time. And then 2021, I released my first single.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah, that's a quick overview, bro. Yeah. So, okay. Zimbabwe to Canada. I would assume that was a huge change, right?
Yeah, massive change.
How old were you? I missed it. How old were you when you moved?
That's 8 years ago. So.
Oh, so recent.
Yeah, so like 31, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So wow. My wife is from here. Like my wife is from here, but we met in Zimbabwe, 2013 actually. and then we did the whole long distance thing, and and then she traveled back and forth, and I tried to get here earlier, but with paperwork and stuff, like it's complicated, right? And then 2015, I ended up being able to get to Canada, and then yeah, we decided to just settle here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Before we go a little bit further, Nisha, can you hear Chiwaz clearly? I don't know if it's cutting out on my end or if it's on his end. I don't want to go too far into the stream and not address that. So how did you end up meeting your wife then?
Ministry. So I've got my version, and she's probably listening in, but she's got her own version. But one of the organizations I used to work for, it was it's called ACTS. It's African Christian Tours and Safaris. And so I used to work there as an interpreter, as a chef, as a tour guide. And so her and two of her friends then had just wanted to come to Africa and do like mission work. And so they ended up coming to the organization that I was working for. And then we just got to know each other a little bit as friends. And then she came back to Canada. I was like, I'm just gonna shoot my shot, and if anything, like if it doesn't work out, then long distance, we'll see. Like I was serious about getting to know her, and she was obviously serious about getting to know me too. So we did the long distance thing. But she was, as I said, she was traveling back and forth, and yeah, we kind of connected, and yeah, the rest is history, man. So, but we got married in Zimbabwe and lived in Zimbabwe, and then ended up coming to Canada.
Ah, that's cool. Is that your youngest back there that I hear?
Yeah, that's my youngest. Yeah, probably trying to put him to sleep or something. So.
Sounds like there's a fight going on. Like,
nah, he's very vocal. He's very vocal.
Oh man, that's cool though. That's cool. See, I don't know. That's one of the things I enjoy about live is it's live, right? We're in your home, right? Yes, and I think and so my boys respect the fact that sometimes timing is crucial in terms of like having to pop in or whatever. But for the most part, it's like, hey, this is your guys' house too. I'm your dad. Like I'm not gonna have conversations with people and talk about, hey, really love your family, be there for them or whatever, and then be yelling, hey, stop, don't talk to me, hey, you know what I mean?
Facts, man, facts, yeah.
It's it's a thing, it's a balance, bro. So okay, so let's go back, right? Let's do some origin story, man. You could take it as young as you want. Just kind of what upbringing, did you have? Was it a Christian-based one? What just kind of walk me through just your upbringing, your younger years, man.
Young years, Christian upbringing. We used to go to an Anglican church. I grew up in an Anglican church. Every Sunday we made sure, my parents made sure, and then when I got to close to finishing my I think they call it elementary here, like back home it's primary school, right?
Yep.
We my parents changed churches, and so we went to their church as well. So we joined them as kids anyway. It's called Faith Apostolic Church.
Okay.
So this is like, let me share a little bit there. So basically their church, there's no church buildings. Okay. You worship outside under a tree. If it's going to be hot, it's going to be blitzing. If it's going to rain, you're going to be rained on, but people are just worshiping. And they wear like, I don't know if you've seen that, they wear like, those Jesus robes, the white robes.
Yeah.
And the canes and the big beards. And so I went to that church for, I don't know, almost 10 years. But then at some point I just felt like I was just a tag alonger, and really wanted to experience what my folks were experiencing. And so I chose my own path and decided to search for God with a different church.
Okay. So so now you wanting to go your own path, like you said, going to a different church, was there anything, was the mindset like, hey, I want to see if it's real. So now I need to go to a completely different place, or like, hey, there's some things here at this church that I don't know if I agree with, so I'm gonna check over here.
No,
Okay.
not at all. I knew it was real, but
Okay.
I just felt like I wasn't really connected enough. Like there was something that was still kind of empty for me, and so yeah, and that didn't really go well with my folks because I think they were worried that like if he goes, I mean, when family's close, right, you feel like you're protecting each other, but I think they felt like me leaving was me becoming, very rebellious, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and so that didn't go well at first, and for sure, like at some point, I ended up just getting into some crazy stuff, but I still knew even then that like this is not where God wants me to be. But I did find my way, and I ended up, just connecting with God, and yeah.
Gotcha. Now you were saying so. You knew that God didn't want you there. Are you talking about at your parents' church
No,
or?
no, where I was like through the journey, like
Ah, okay, okay.
while I'm searching for my, so like
Gotcha.
I knew at some point, like what you're doing is it's not what God wants for your life, right? I knew
Right.
there was always this conviction,
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, man. Okay. So that leads me to a question then. So,
Yeah,
it's Memorial Day here, and that typically means everybody's out grilling, right? Families together, right?
right.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
So my brother and I were chopping it up this earlier today,
Hmm.
and I was talking to him, and I was telling him that, we were talking about moving and this, that, and the other, and I was like, I don't know, man, it just kind of depends on, if God puts it on my heart, to move, then I know He's got to put it on my wife's heart and whatever. And he's
Right.
like, okay, what does that mean when you say put on your heart? Because he goes, I hear people say that, but
Hmm.
what does that mean? And so, it's on the
Mm.
spot question. And so I'm trying to figure out like, okay, how do I articulate this knowing that he is a very rational thinker, right? He's got to like think through, facts, that kind of stuff or whatever. So
Yeah.
I give my conversation, but I think that's a good question for you. I'd like to ask that question to you because
Mm.
somebody like my brother would hear you saying, you were at church with your family, and then you ended up wanting to go somewhere else, but then you still knew right in your heart that God didn't want you to be a part of the things that you were through this journey of seeking, right?
Mm.
How how would you answer someone who is saying, what do you mean when you say
I
God is
knew.
telling you?
Well, I think the first off, like it just I see where it can get, for some people, like where it gets like, did he speak to you like,
Mm-hmm.
directly, and sometimes people do hear God's voice, right? But I think for me, it was always like things that would happen, near getting arrested, near losing your life.
Mm-hmm.
When and I'm going, wow, like that could have been me, right?
Yeah.
So it's certain things that kind of happened that I was kind of like I would always be very aware of my surroundings, but also still seeking, even though I was in a place where I think was very hard for me. But even through other people saying certain things to me, like, bro, like there's more for you in your life than where you're at right now. So I think just being in a place where I was able to listen to what people would say,
Mm-hmm.
but also still feeling like personally I was very hungry for that. I was very hungry to have that relationship, right? So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of one of the things that I landed on with him, which was, at the end of the day, it's something that you have to go for yourself. Like you have to really decide, search, whatever on your own, if this is something that's real, right? In regards to
Mm.
Christianity, the main thing that I had focused on with him, I said, hey, like I said, for me, I said, I don't know that well how to articulate it. So
Mm.
I did what I felt that I could, in that moment. But the thing that I had told him, I said, hey, and this is kind of what I've been doing a lot lately with anybody that I've had conversations is I would rather focus on the resurrection,
Mm.
um, because if the resurrection is true, then everything that Jesus said about himself is true. And therefore, there must be some more truth to what is in Scripture and how we as Christians ought to live our life. I said, now, if it's not true, then at the bare minimum, I'm living a moral life, right? A good life, someone who's beneficial to the community, that kind of stuff. I said, so at the very least, it's that. But at the very most, it's a lot more than that if the resurrection is true. So I told him, I said, hey, listen, I know, kind of going back into that the question of like, how do you hear from God or whatever?
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, if situations, right? If situations occur and you are saved from the bad outcome that it could have been jail, could have been shot, whatever. Because I know how he thinks, I was like, but at the same time, I know a skeptic would say, but the same person who has some crystals in their pocket will say, man, I'm so glad that I had these crystals in my pocket, because if I didn't, I would have got shot. And I said, I can't get into that conversation, the back and forth with that, because if we're honest, it doesn't sound, to someone who is outside the faith, it doesn't sound any different when we're saying, and you can push back on this, but when we're saying God is telling me this, or I didn't get in this car accident because of God, and this person saying, well, I didn't get in a car accident because I had these crystals, or I did my mantra this morning or whatever, you know what I mean? And so that conversation get really, really crazy, which is why, again, I kind of went to the resurrection, bro. If I can start there, everything else kind of goes from there. So how would you articulate that a little bit more for someone who might be pushing back and say, well, what's the difference between your religion versus, some crystals, the universe, karma, whatever?
Maybe I'll take it back a little bit, because I feel like I've had somewhat similar kind of conversations with people.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think where I come from, it's either it's one or two, one or the other, right? So it's either you are really seeking God with all your heart and with everything,
right?
Or there's people who are practicing what they practice, and and to some people it's very out in the open. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, my upbringing, like, we have always been in a spot where I do not want to. I see what other people are doing with the whatever their beliefs are. You talk about these crystals or whatever. There's stuff that happens a lot, and people do stuff that's crazy. But in that sense, like, we have gone through so many, and this is just personal, so many spiritual attacks even growing up, and I've seen things that people can only see while they watch Harry Potter, right? And it just depends on where you're coming from, I think, because I think that's why for me it's very easy for me to talk about stuff like that, because I grew up around things like that, and I've always known that if without God, without me having to proclaim or confess that He is my Lord and Savior, then it's either I'm gonna go the other direction, right? So to answer a person, I think it just comes from the personal relationship that you do have, and an understanding, because I feel like whatever I've gone through in my life is what makes me stand firm in my belief. And it doesn't mean that, like, every day is like, I'm not questioning certain things, because I am human, right? But I always know that even though I'm questioning certain things or why certain things are happening, there's always this, but I still trust that God, you are who you are. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if I have a very solid answer for people, but I think if you in your heart decide that you want to go with something, right? So I decided I wanted to pursue this lady. Did I really know what was going to happen? No, but I knew in my heart, like, if it doesn't work out, I still leave there going, I put in my best effort as a man of God. I live by my principles. I live by with integrity and whatever, right? So but then I think with that though, that's the faith that I think we always talk about, like just believing that God is there and God is going to lead the way, I think. And it's a step, like as you said, like it's just being in a place of going,
Yeah.
I've got to choose, I've got to make a choice, you know,
Hmm.
or at least even if I'm still doubting, but try it anyway, right? And let me know like how that goes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, again, in the conversation, I'm like, man,
Mm,
I could not articulate the words that is going to give you the assurance that your brain is trying to give you.
mm,
I can't.
mm,
However, you trying to experience it for yourself and living it out, you will find it. Like, I'm a firm believer that God's going to show up one way or the other. If you are really honest about like, oh, yo, God, like I'm like, and we hear testimonies of this, like, whatever the situation, whether it's like super lows or super highs, or sometimes just like weird little things like, hey, I believe that you're true if you have somebody with a blue t-shirt, walk by in the next
right,
30
right.
seconds. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, there are stories like that, but it's like at the same time, it's like, but I'm not gonna worry how God shows up. But if you are wanting God to show up, I'm gonna pray
Mm-hmm.
with you. Like I'll pray
Mm,
with you that
mm,
God will show up
mm.
because you are serious about it. I said, but if you're not serious about it, then there's no reason to have this conversation. Because even if he did, right? Even if it was a freaking fire pillar right now, right? Some kind of crazy weather, whatever, right? Your brain, a person's brain who is still not really set on the possibility of that it's God or however the case may be, they will still try to rationalize it some other way, right? Some kind of some climate thing, whatever. Yeah. So, but I say that from my context.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to what you said, where you are very much more aware of spiritual things
Mm,
than what the American society would normally be. Or I would say, really, the majority of the West would be aware of. And
mm,
um, I've got some friends who travel overseas, and very often they talk about when we talk about anything spiritual, anyone who has ever been around any of it, negative, positive, whatever, they're more willing to hear it and believe it
mm,
because they'll go, "Oh, but I know what it looks like when a person's possessed. Like I've seen
mm,
those kind of things or whatever." So can
mm.
you? I want to unpack that a little bit. What do you mean when you say that you kind of were already kind of used to it, and very aware of spiritual?
Well, because there's good and you know evil, right? Like
Yeah.
there's darkness and there's light, and there's people who practice what they practice. And so, growing up, like you'd see people do rituals, and it's not even hidden, right? And
Mm.
so for me, it was something that I knew and saw almost on a daily, our day to day like living, right? But if if it's somebody who has never has grown up in an environment where it's never spoken about, it's never you've never experienced it, right? It would sound
Mm.
taboo
Yeah.
to that person. And I remember when I even speak, even for example, like even speaking in tongues, right? Like things
Yeah.
like that. Like for some people, it's like, what is this? Like I remember when we were dating, okay, one of the and I didn't think much about it. So my wife now,
Right.
then girlfriend, like we were having like they were having an all night ladies all night prayer. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
and again, depending on your church demographic, whatever. Like so, I didn't think much about it. Right? I'm just saying, hey, my girlfriend is going with my fellow sisters in Christ. They're going for an all night, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But then for her, she had never experienced people walking around the room and laughing and clapping, and you know,
Mm.
and that really kind of like it kind of shook her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't think much about that because again, to us it's normal, right? It's like, yo, this is just how it is. Like we just lift our hands and we walk around and we lay hands on people. And you're talking about the t-shirts and praying for someone, like I'm gonna go find somebody in the middle of the street, and I'm just gonna believe that God is gonna show up. Like that's just how I've I've been raised, right, to just trust in God that He's going to show up. And obviously it's not haphazard, right? It's not one of those, but you pray about stuff, and so with things like that, it's like it is a bit of a sensitive, and yet even in me saying it, I'm like, why should it be? Because even the word talks about demons, and you know what I mean. But I don't know. I just feel like for some people, and there has to be wisdom too. I know I don't. I mean, when I moved, I was so excited. Like I'm like, yo, like I'm gonna be, connecting with brothers and sisters in Christ, but I had to tone it down because I realized that the demographic is most people do not understand this kind of lingo, even up until now. Like to talk about, I laid hands and we cast out this, and for some people who actually do love Christ, it doesn't mean they do not. It's still something that's very new to them, right? So I think it's just finding wisdom as well, and sometimes for some people they seek, right? Like you're talking about your brother, like if you're feeling in your heart like you seek and you say, hey, I want to know more about this, like what exactly does it look like? And I think in that case, when you're curious, then it's easier to kind of try and figure things out. But some people who are not seeking, it will never make sense, or you'd rather stay away from things like that, right? So I don't know. So yeah, but I've always told myself, like I try and I'm not going to change who I am, but I'm definitely going to read my surrounding first, and if the conversation comes up, then we can talk about it. If not, then it is what it is, right? So it doesn't make a person who doesn't speak in tongues less of a Christian, or less of a Christ follower. I think we're all Christians, but a Christ follower, that's a different one too. So am I really, do I believe in the cross? Do I believe in the Trinity? All these things, right? So I don't know. You almost don't want to complicate Christianity as well, and what it's about. But there's other factors that we sometimes shy away from, right? So
yeah. No, that was good, bro. That was good. Yeah, and especially that last part, bro. Yeah, you don't want to overcomplicate it, and that's why, again, knowing who you're talking to also gives you the understanding and the gauge as to how to continue that conversation, which is why you really want to actually have a relationship with the person that you're talking to. Now, of course, if somebody's, if you're at an event, whatever the case may be, like, I do believe the Holy Spirit can definitely give you the words to say right then and there, right? But 9 times out of 10, a lot of those conversations are with people that you at least have some form of relationship, some form of context to them, and so therefore you're not going to speak in certain ways. So, for instance, again, back to my brother, I know how his brain works, so it would do no good for me to tell him about the moments where I had encounters with demons and I had to have those moments. You and I could have that conversation, and I could say something to you, and even if you weren't a believer, if it was somebody else who has had any of those kind of encounters, they would hear me and they'd go, "Oh, wait a minute now. There's some truth to this because I've experienced something like this. Even if I don't believe in Jesus, I have experienced that kind of stuff." Right? That conversation I can have with them right away. But certain people you can't, and I think leading with certain things can get it very confusing, and then it turns into, almost feeling like you got to read a gigantic manual that's even bigger than the Bible to understand just what it is to be a Christian, right? Just the bare minimum on that. What do you feel like with the time that you've been over in Canada, versus, you growing up in Zimbabwe? Like, what do you wish more people were more aware of or focused on from where you were born and raised versus to where you've encountered and all that? Like what would you hope, like what would you kind of wish that most on the West would experience or understand versus what something you've always understood growing up?
That's a tough one, bro. That is
because it can get irritating because again, your life, you've lived certain things, you've experienced certain things. It's very normal.
Maybe let me put it this way, because I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think there's room for conversation.
Okay.
There's room for understanding. Because if I were to think back from the time I got here,
Mm-hmm.
um, I obviously was coming in with my view of certain things, or how it is to be Christ-like in my
Right.
own walk. And so I could have easily started being very judgmental the moment I
Yeah.
got here, right? Because then I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah.
So here's a small little example. Like where my wife grew up, that was the church that I started at, right? The family church, right? So I'm used to standing on chairs, man, and you start praise and worship in the morning, and then all of a sudden the Holy Spirit, like the pastor decides we're not gonna, preach because we're gonna lay hands and pray on people to
Yeah.
people. So I'm used to that, right? And where we are like when someone goes up to the front of the church and shares like what God has done in their lives or healed them in something, like I'm used to just yes, Jesus, like more of it, right?
Mm.
I could have easily been so judgmental, going like, what are people doing? Like, this lady came up and she shared about what God has done for her, but people are like not even celebrating that. Like, what's wrong with you, right? I could have easily gone that route,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
I know God did speak to me. Like, I felt the conviction where it's like, shape, even with the exuberance or where you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
I'm still the same God, even in the silence, in the stillness of it. Like I still operate the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so me being where I was, I had to kind of understand that I am there to learn, but I'm also there to share, right? So I don't think I would say like there's something that was annoying for me,
Yeah.
because then that would have meant that I was judgmental, and
Gotcha.
I didn't want to be in that. And I learned very quickly, like no, like God still operates even in the stillness, right? I
Yeah.
actually built incredible relationships with people outside of, you know, not jumping on the chairs and whatever. Like really had these one-on-ones where we prayed for people and people had questions and God was still moving. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think yeah, I think that would be my answer. Like not that I felt any annoyance or anything like that now, but I think I actually learned more and grew more as well in this different environment as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, man, that's no, well said. And I like I like what you were talking about how you were used to, I guess as we would say it, you were used to spirit led services, wherever the Holy Spirit was, rather it's a hey, we're praying for people now, rather it's hey, we're just gonna worship, like that's it, we just gonna sit right here, or hey, it's time for the word or whatever,
Yeah.
that you guys were down for it, versus where a lot of and obviously here in America, but just I would say Western churches and as a whole is it's a program, right? It's a program. From this time to this time, this is what we're gonna do or whatever. Um, I can recall for myself the tension, that frustration that the church that I originally started in, and that
Mm,
I really just that they were my church, right? They were my church.
mm,
Um, they they had showed glimpses of that where the service can, again, like you said, like hey, we this is all we're doing. Pastor comes up, hey, you know what, we done tonight, like all we did was worship, but that's what I felt like we needed to do. It was an extended time, whatever, prayer, all that stuff. And then I
mm,
started to notice that as the church grew, it became more structured, and more structured. And don't get me wrong, I really believe that the Holy Spirit can also work through the structure, and that
of
it
course.
helps, right? Don't
Of
get me
course.
wrong. But but the frustration, the tension of, but man, can't you tell that like this isn't an emotional moment? Like there's actual, like I can feel, like when
Yeah.
you can feel like the weights are coming off of people. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if you're good, even if you ain't
Mm-hmm.
got no tears, you happy, you just chilling, but you're like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, this room is getting lighter and lighter. I can feel, I can sense this joy
Mm-hmm.
coming out of nowhere or whatever. And it would be frustrating because it's like, yo, like why are you cutting this off, right? And so I like that you said that you don't really want to see it as an annoyance, and that you want to stay as least judgmental as possible, understanding that that's just where that person is. Because let's be honest, if we invited a friend to a church right now and it turned into, you know, a 3-hour prayer service out of nowhere, they may not be ready for that moment. And it would be on us if we didn't tell them, hey, this might happen. You know what I mean? Like trying to like sneak them in a little bit, like, you know, just, hey, come on in, man, it's gonna be all great. Instead of like, hey, it's gonna be all great. And you know, sometimes we just gonna be worshiping. Sometimes like this might happen or whatever. What are your thoughts, man, when it comes to just, I guess, church as a whole? Because I really want to know, especially as to like how you know, your home church was growing up versus to the churches that you have now. What is it like to you when it comes to churches where some churches seem to be overly focused on the non-believer coming in to service? So it's seeker friendly, where everything is kind of, not everything, but a majority of the topics and the way that the structure is ran and different things are kind of geared towards the let's make them feel as welcome as possible and almost focused on them. And then there's some churches who are like, yo, this is a Christian thing. This is what we're doing for our people. Hey, we're glad to see that you're here. But we're going to tell you about how you're going to hell if this is not, you know, if you're not choosing Jesus. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts when it comes to where churches are on those things? Do you feel like churches should focus more on the non-believer on that Sunday service because you know they're going to be there, or do you feel like it should be focused more on the believer?
I think both, to be honest. I just look at it this way. When I was searching for something, you know, I was searching for this relationship, and I remember one of the churches that I walked into on that Sunday. If it wasn't for a gentleman that kind of noticed me walk in and notice, oh, this is a new dude, and you know, let me go greet him and sit with him and just, you know, welcome him, I wouldn't have stayed for the years that I stayed, right? But then on the other hand, as now the person who was an outsider, now look like now I'm going, we as Christ followers, as believers, like we do need to be in a place where we need to, you know, we need to sharpen each other. We need to remind each other of what we were called to do. So to say then like the focus should only be on, I don't think that's how my take is, but I think the focus really needs to be on what we've been called out to do, and that's to love on people and to build relationship, but also to speak truth, right? And I believe like it's timely too. I mean, I can't just hey, listen, if I had walked in that church on that Sunday and, you know, guys were, you know, this guy hadn't sat down with me and it kind of made me feel welcome. Whatever happened during the service at that time where people started being prayed for, if he hadn't welcomed me and made me feel comfortable, I would have probably walked out again, because it's something that I was like, yo, like this is too much for me, right? But on the other hand, with him speaking and getting to know me, and then really asking me questions about, you know, where I'm at, and that's with time, with relationship too, that made me realize and make it easier for me to want to come back. So I just think like it should be a balanced diet, honestly. Yeah, that's my thought really, because if we get caught up too much into, oh, you know, like this is our main focus, as this is our church, and it's not our church. And if we want to talk more about that, like it's just a building anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be real with you. And a lot of people now are getting very much caught up of getting too comfortable. And this is how we're gonna do Sunday. Sometimes, and I'm not calling out anybody, but I'm just saying sometimes you gotta be careful, because you get so comfortable to a point where even, you know, if you're a pastor or whatever the case is, you are now just playing it safe, just according to, you know, whoever, you know, has the biggest pocket and whoever is tithing on that Sunday. Like, I mean, we've come across things like that sometimes where it's like, should I really talk about what's really going on in the church, or should I just, you know, keep it mellow? Because if I say this, you know, we're not going to pay our bills, right, and stuff like that. So I don't know. There has to be a balance, bro. I think there has to be a balance. Otherwise, we are gonna get we're gonna be running the opposite direction. You
Yeah.
know, thinking we are running our race and chasing after God, and yet he will say, I did not know you. Like it's tricky, bro. Like,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but we can't just open up doors and let people just come in. And we need to speak. We need to be in spirit and in truth, and share the word of God. What does the word of God actually say? And speak truth. And usually, I know, like my wife says to me, like I'm too honest, right? Sometimes, um, but I think it's good because I feel like, and again, it comes with wisdom as well. Like, Lord, like, should I share this right now? Or Lord, is this the right time to talk about this, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like for me, I've always said to Lord, like, if it's not about you, or if it's not for you, then I do not want anything to do with it, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm talking from a place where I am a Christ follower now, and I've served in the church, but I also came in as a wounded person, and I still am. So what really qualifies me in the eyes of God to say ship is better than the person who's coming in? You know, I
Yeah.
just think it's a relationship type of thing. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm playing it safe. I don't know, but
I don't know. I don't know if I would say you're playing it safe, because there's a couple different call out things. I mean, not calling out name, but definitely
Mhm.
definitely calling out certain things. No, yeah, I like. Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. That was well said, bro. And I get it, and I know, I asked the question as if it's, binary one way or the other,
Mhm.
but yeah, it is just depending on who it is that you're talking to, right? Where you are, location wise, all that stuff, right? So I get it, because if you are planted in a place that there's going to be far more, if you just know, like, hey, there's only like really 15 of y'all Christians in there, and you're starting up a church, you're probably going to get flooded with a bunch of non-Christians who come in. So your messages, your topics, your things that you're going to deal with is a little bit different. But I at least appreciated the fact that you talked about, that you pointed out that there's also those of which who try to have conversations that are more pleasing to the ear, so that they don't
Mhm.
lose their biggest giver, right? That they don't upset, and rustle any feathers. So I agree that there's some balance there,
Mhm.
and I think that's also why when a person does try to call out a the methodology that a church goes about something,
Mhm.
I have issues with that, because I'm like, even if you feel like you did it your way, it would not be good enough for that other person, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
now you would say, oh, it's because I'm so authentically about Jesus that you're not going to come to Christ. It's not because of my method. It's just because it's kind of like, oh, I'm too much for you.
Mhm.
Somebody trying to say
Mhm.
that. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, you're not too much for them. You're just not for them, right? The way that you talk, the way that you articulate things, your thoughts, your backgrounds are going to hit somebody totally different than it would me, than it would anybody else,
Mhm.
right? And so
Mhm.
I again, I like that you even talked about that, the church is just a building. So kind of the same thing. That church building may hit certain people a certain way that
Yep.
that others wouldn't, right?
Mhm.
Thankfully, because I'm actually okay with this, within some boundaries of stuff and all that, whatever. But
Mhm.
if it's done healthy, thankfully, there's going to be a church somewhere else, hopefully nearby. And then
Mhm.
that church hopefully can hit you and connect with you a certain way. But
Mhm.
then the bigger hope, and this is why I was saying, hopefully this healthy, is that at least when I see these two churches getting together and communicating on
Right.
things of which, even if they disagree with, but the foundations are there,
Yeah.
at least if I can see that, I could see unity. And through unity, I can see Christ, right? And that would
Amen. Yeah.
draw more men onto them. And so I like that. Now, I want to, before we get into your song, I want to kind of backtrack, because you said you were hurt and you are still hurt. Can we unpack what do you mean by that?
Hey. Where in the conversation?
Yeah. So yeah, you said towards the end you talked about that you had came in. You had came in from
Oh, okay,
being
okay.
hurt. So
Okay, so basically, okay, yeah, good. That's a good thing because I don't want people to get the wrong.
yeah.
So it's more like you come into the church seeking for something. Like I was coming from a place where you know I just had a bad experience in my life or bad experiences, right? So I'm coming in
Right.
to seek God. But even within the church itself, and I'm in the church, I'm serving. I'm still I'm still searching up until today, right? Like there's things I'm still struggling with. There's you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
for me to then say I'm better than the person who's walking into the church, or we
Okay.
we are still patients.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
I might have been in the in I was in the ER, but now I'm in the recovery. But I'm still a patient. You know what I'm saying? So
God. Okay. Understood.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So yeah, not saying like, oh man, I'm still. Yeah, that's good you asked. That's good you asked.
Okay. Okay.
I just think we've got to look at ourselves because if I don't know if God looks at us from the top and says integrity, Chiwaz, um, uh, Nishi, whoever, I see you the same, right?
Yeah.
I believe that even with where you're at in your own walk with Christ, integrity, like you probably have been doing. You're talking about having a church, and you have had an experience. You've there's things that I personally would not understand, right? But when God then puts us in that demographic, we're still the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
In God's eyes. So when I look at a person, I then have to be in a place where there's that humility where I know I've I've been in the game for 15 years. But in this instance, for me to build that relationship, I've got to get to that level where that person can understand me and feel like I can actually connect with this person. I can, not to feel like judged in a way,
Right.
but still speaking truth. So there's just ways to articulate things that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good, bro. That's good. Well, hey, we are at that portion of our show which is called the Oxen Brand Spotlight, where we get a chance to hear personally from our guest Chiwaz about his song called Adonai. Can you tell us just kind of your heart behind the song, and just kind of what you felt like God dropped on you when you allowed this song to be able to? And I say allowed because God could have given you a song, but you had to be obedient to actually carry it through, right? So, tell us about your obedience process here.
So Adonai meaning God. So it was just I think again like being in a time where things were very difficult
Yeah.
in my own personal life, and just struggling with connecting with God, but also just struggling with questions.
Yeah.
So I think at that moment I was like God, like I know you're good. I know you're good, but I don't feel good. Like there's things that are going on, and I don't know how to articulate this. I am struggling to even connect with you. I'm struggling to pray or to read my word, and I I need your help, right? So I think that's where usually when I'm going through things like that, I get to a place where like I just need to worship. I just need to go into a space, and which would be my studio, and just be one on one with God. No one else, just me and Him. And so when I spent time just in prayer, I just worshipped, and that's most. I think most of the songs that I've recorded, that's just how it's been. I put myself in a space of worship, and sometimes I don't even articulate how the song is gonna come out, really, to be honest. Or I just go into the studio and record and pray. So Adonai was the same. Again, going through a lot of things in my life and just going, Lord, like I've tried to do things my own way.
Yeah.
And now I feel I question my own existence too. Like I just need you, God. So I think that's where the whole song kind of came to be.
Man, that's cool. Man,
Mhm.
starting with the worship.
Chiwaz on the mic.
That's dope. That's dope. All right, cool. My bad, I hit the wrong button. Cool. Well, we're gonna go ahead and listen to this song, because I definitely, I know I got a little snippet of it. I think on an IG live too, bro. So I'm excited about this. So again, this is the Oxen Brand Spotlight. This is Chiwaz Adonai. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yo, man. Bro, that was dope. And to know the back end of it about you going into it as worship, like that makes sense then why it's almost like you're not crying out, but yeah, like you're crying out. Like
Mhm.
it makes sense why I felt the genuineness of you connecting with the creator while creating this song. Like the thing is, you can make a song sound great. You can have all the right words. You can make the harmony. You can make all that stuff sound fantastic. But it's that heart behind that song, right? It's something that is really unexplainable. Like there's plenty of tracks, especially in the CHH market, that it's like dropping, every week and all that. And I'm not saying that there aren't any other artists who, prayerfully consider the things that they're doing, in terms of their songs. But yeah, the authenticity, but it's that heart connection. I guess, if this was a talent show type deal, whatever, we would say the X factor. It's that X factor. It's just that little bit that makes it stand out. And so I know for me, when I was listening to this, hearing now with the back end of, the backstory as to how you go about your recording process, that finally I was able to put my finger on it. That's essentially what I'm saying. I was putting my finger on it. I was like, that's why this song is different. I was trying to figure out, it wasn't because of Opto. Shout out to Opto.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of anything that, it was because your heart behind it, and the intentionality that you put towards it, bro. So again, super dope, bro. I appreciated that, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So, you're in Canada, bro. Like, do you do any events? Are there like live shows that you're a part of? Like what?
Bro,
What is that for you?
I've been avoiding. Like, okay, so funny thing you asked. I had my first interview, like radio interview, a couple of months ago.
Oh, dope.
And what happened was, I was saying to my wife, like, I feel like God has given me the platform and I've been praying for this, and He says it's time. But I'm shying away from sharing my music because it's a bit personal as well. But I just felt this prompting, and my wife was like, "No, like you've got an opportunity to go and share with whoever's going to be listening." So I got that opportunity and went to the radio station. So in my mind, I'm like, cool, we're just going to do the radio thing, and I don't think a lot of people listen to the radio, whatever, right? So no one's really going to hear anything. And then the internet's got no delete buttons, right? So
Yeah.
what happened was, after the interview, like, forgot about it really, and then I started getting like DMs from people who had listened to the interview,
Yeah.
and they were reaching out and saying, "Yo, bro, like, we actually connected with what you were sharing, and your music is quite, it's healing for us. So would you like to, And then I got emails from like universities, and now, like, in my city, I've turned down maybe 3 invites, and the honest truth is because I feel like I'm not ready to do live. I don't think I'm prepared. I didn't know there were things like, look, integrity. I'm horrible. Like, I didn't know there were things like you have to get, like, what is it called, live production stuff. Like, your music has to sound like. I had no idea, right? So, and I'm hearing all these things, and I'm going, no, I don't think I'm ready. But it's also an excuse. Like, I feel like God is like, you've got to get going. And so I think I'm at a place where now I'm like, okay, God, like, send me. Otherwise, He's gonna say, look, listen, there's another who will serve me if you are wasting this opportunity, right? So, yeah. So now I'm kind of getting myself, more out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So there are festivals that are happening. Um, and it's funny, part of my job that I do, like each year we kind of do like a festival that I'm a part of putting together. And some people, like most people at my workplace, now kind of stumbled across that interview and went to my Spotify. Like I don't share these things with people. And then they started saying, "Yo, so bro, like you actually sing? Like, so
You
why aren't
actually
you
do
doing
you
this?"
do
Yeah,
this?
right. So they're going, "Why aren't you doing this at these events?" And I'm always like, "Nah, like I'm busy doing things in the background, so I prefer be staying there, And I feel like it's more of an excuse, to be honest. Like it's not God telling me to stay back there. Like God has already
Mm.
said, "Hey, you know, do what you got to do." But I just need to get out there, man. So
Hey, I'm glad you called that out. Cause Nisha's calling you out in the chat. She said, "Quit hiding. You'll never be ready. Don't make me fly to Canada. We will fight." So,
yeah, listen, when Nisha says something, yeah, I gotta listen, bro. Like, I've gotta listen. So
facts. Nah, facts, bro. No,
yeah.
okay. What do you feel like if you've gone through this process? What do you
Mm,
feel like that that is holding you back? And when I say that, I'm not
mm,
saying that uh, that now all of a sudden you're going to be chasing for doing festival tours, or
yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
try to
yeah.
headline things or whatever,
Right,
right?
right.
We're just talking about being faithful
Hmm.
with and stewarding what God has given you, right?
Right.
That's what we're talking
Hmm.
about. We're talking about the talents. We're talking about, like, you have felt like you have been burying your talents and wanting to
Mm,
show back up and go, but hey, at least I still got what you gave me,
mm,
versus the others who invested it, right, and created more and growth more or whatever. And so
mhm,
what do you feel like has kind of made you, in a sense, yeah, in a sense, hide, kind of bury this?
mm. Vulnerability is one of them. Um,
Mm,
like I don't know. As I said, like it's personal, but I also believe, like integrity. Like I know what I need to do, right? But I think I'm fighting God, and that never. I'll never win this fight, right?
no,
So, but I think I
no, you
think,
won't.
So I think it's the vulnerability, but also, mm, just a sense of, man. I don't know how to put this across. Like I don't sound petty, but phew. I I wanna see people connect with Christ, man. Like, hey, man. So the freedom that I have, man, like even when things are rough, man, like just knowing that God's got me, like I can really connect with them. I think that's the scary bit too. Like, Lord, like, eh, and it's not my job to change people. It's not my job.
Yeah,
It's my job to just go out and serve. But in the back of my mind, I'm going, Lord, like I'm so hungry to make sure that this really connects with people, and you know I don't know.
yeah,
So yeah, I think yeah, that's the other problem, like feeling like, is it really going to make sense to people?
yeah,
Are they
yeah.
really going to connect the way I connect when I'm worshiping in the studio, right? But that's not my job.
Amen.
That really isn't my job. And I need to come to terms and an understanding that,
No.
when my father is the head of the house,
Hmm.
he knows what's best.
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
I agree.
yeah.
Can, can I at least say this, man? I appreciate your vulnerability to first off admit those things, but I I really appreciate, again, back to intentionality. You feel the weight of taking this craft and putting it in front of people, and not the weight of just that my talents will be judged, and will I sound good enough, will
Mm,
are my words good enough, like and that still might play a part, and that's normal and natural for everyone.
Mm.
But what I'm hearing from you is you are far more focused on not wasting a moment, a bar, a chorus, a line, a beat that somebody may enjoy it but not connect with God through it.
Yeah, amen. And that's genuinely it, bro. Like, and again, like we I've my experiences and what I've seen God do for me, and what I've seen God do for people in my life, my family, my mother, who that's a story for another day, man. Where God legit brought her from the pits of death, whatever the case is, right? And
Yeah.
but praying and really saying, Lord, like I want to serve you with all I have, and like send me. And so that's what I feel like that's my purpose in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To serve him. And so yeah, to a certain extent, like it's tough to then feel, like Lord, like are people really gonna see you? Are people gonna mock you? Because some of the times you hear, people say, oh yeah, this is why Christian music is, and I don't really care about that though, to be honest. Like when God sends me, I try my all best to just go. I mean, I'm fighting this whole thing of going live performances and stuff, and even going on lives, bro. Like I don't joke around when I post things in the chats. Like I struggle with those things. Like, but I feel like God is like, you know what? Like those are the platforms I've given you. Your heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
Why aren't you? You know what I mean? So I'm learning now to kind of put myself out there and go on a Sunday and do like a 15-minute worship something on a live and pray with people or ask for prayer requests, whatever the case is, because that's what my life is, my purpose is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So
yeah,
I'm growing, bro. I'm learning and I'm growing, and yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. I mean, you getting challenged. I love that. I feel, and just even throughout the whole conversation, bro. I'm not gonna do the you should be a pastor, but you definitely feel in the conversations that we've had so far. I feel like you have a teacher's heart. Like you really. It sounds like you really want to be able to teach others about God and teach others what it means to live out life. Like it's not, you're not coming off as someone who is just wanting to use music, but you would rather have time to actually just, like let's get together every single week, and I want to disciple. Like you sound like somebody who for real is focused on being a disciple who's making other disciples. Like the whole time we've talked, the entire time, all I keep thinking, the word teacher just keeps coming to my mind. Okay, it's just teacher. Don't know what that means, right? I have no context for it, but I'm like, like this guy's a teacher. Like he has a teacher's heart. It is totally different than someone who is just on the microphone. And it's not to say that you can't, do that from there, but there's just a different dynamic. So I want to at least tell you that, bro. I don't know necessarily
it, bro.
what it is, but something about a teacher. You are very much a teacher, bro. And I think that's also why I'm like really connected with your heart, because I'm like, yeah, this dude really cares far more about people really knowing God than anything else. And I think that's dope.
Bro, I appreciate you saying that. It's funny because my prayer before I got into this whole music thing in August, I said, Lord, thank you for giving me this opportunity and this platform to minister.
Yeah.
But I did say, like, Lord, through this music, I want to connect with people. That was my prayer. I want to connect with people and build and build relationship and pray for one another. And because if this music is stripped away, bro, like what else is there? Like,
yeah,
I think I find it like it's a tool to reach out. It's a tool to connect with people. And the funny thing is, like all the people you mentioned that are, like my big bro Adam, it's through relationship. It's not necessarily through just the music, but it's through relationship. Like I actually speak to people outside of music, man, because I care for that more than anything. I'd
Yep.
rather check in on you, bro, and say, "Yo, how's the week going?" If we rock like that, right?
Yeah.
Um, the music stuff, bro. I don't know. I'm not even experienced enough to even say, yeah, the music, because I mean, my track record shows itself, bro. Like, I don't know how I got into CHH, like hip hop. Like, I'm not even a rapper, bro, but I've been seeing God do stuff
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Even though I came in and I was like, yo, bro, my accent is different. Like, I'm just
Right.
not gonna, I don't know. Should I try rapping? Like, that would be bad, right? But I've just seen God do stuff, and I
Yeah.
continue to see him do that. So I think it's also something that then kind of pushes me to continue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that, bro. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. No, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think. I mean, I know we're already. I know CHH is already a a subgenre of a subgenre, but like, I do laugh when any anybody who just kind of hangs around in CHH things, rather it's lives or whatever and all that, somehow get lumped up into CHH, and I'm like, no, that's Christian hip hop. This is not hip hop. It's okay for us to not call it hip hop, guys. Like
Mm,
there's some R&B artists that are
mm,
starting to like pick up some steam,
mhm.
and CHH platforms are picking that up, and people are almost kind of feeling like,
Yeah.
oh, this is CHH. I'm like, no, that they're clear. They're trying to tell you we are Christian R&B. Like this is R&B for Christians, and so yeah, I
Mm,
mean that's a different conversation for
right.
sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I agree.
but I definitely yeah, it's just yeah, I really I feel like I don't know if you ever got a chance to hear or read the story behind Oxen, but like
Mm,
you are one of the few people that I feel like I'm like, yo, like you're an actual Oxen. So I'm gonna have to DM you the link. It's gonna be a lot easier. George, the founder of All Things Oxen, he did a phenomenal way of really breaking down what does it mean. And
mm,
even with the logo and everything else, it's super
yeah.
beautifully articulated that I'm gonna butcher. But we'll definitely have to send you that because I feel
I
like
appreciate it. Yeah, for sure,
that's
bro.
what's resonating with me. So,
Thank
but
you.
I will say this though. I will
Mm,
also say I do want to challenge you. I do want to
mm,
challenge you to accept that challenge of going ahead and getting out in front of people and allowing your work to be heard because um,
mm, mm,
if for myself who is constantly listening to different music can feel like I'm connecting with your song because I feel like you're connected to God. Like I'm connecting
mm,
to God through your music. It
mm,
doesn't have to be super well polished by any means. I didn't have to see you on a live show. I didn't have to hear your music on a radio station, whatever. The fact that your heart is postured the way that it is, I would
mm,
challenge you to, continue and just grow, right? Continue to grow in excellence, do everything unto excellence
yeah.
unto the Lord. But yeah, go for it because of the fact that even if you don't have, production tracks or whatever,
Mm,
live arrangements stuff like none of that really matters because again, it goes back to your heart is so for God that again, somebody's going to connect with your heart for God.
mm, mm,
If the music is what got them interested, if the music is what made them turn their head towards you,
mm,
that's not what's going to get them to Jesus. It's going to be you. It's going to be Chiwaz. It's going to be the person. It's going to actually be Shepherd himself
mm.
that is going to bring them to Jesus. Now, yes, the Holy Spirit will take care of the rest, right? And all
Amen.
that.
Amen.
But I'm just challenging you because even though as you're creating and you're doing stuff or whatever, that might just, songs are going to get somebody's attention. But
Yeah.
what's going to get them to draw even closer is when somebody really gets to know you and gets to see God through you. And then through
Mm,
that, then God's going to be like, all right, cool. Thank you for the baton. Let's go ahead and hand this off. I got
mm,
it. I'll do the salvation thing. You just keep being obedient to my word. Keep digging to my word. Keep loving people. Keep teaching. Do your thing. And I'm going to use this music, however, because it's it's
mm,
it's so funny because back to the conversation that I had with my brother. We were doing the whole what if thing, and I told him, I said, hey, listen, if somebody says, I felt like God told me to move here or whatever, there could be a domino effect where just because this person moved there they may not have made this grand change where the entire world now knows their name. They might have just impacted that one person who then goes and impacts these 10 other people, who then in that 10 end up finding the one who has that ability or whatever opportunity, where then now they are having 3 million people on their platform and listening, right? But like it's one of those, it's like a family tree that you just never really know where it's going to connect. You know that as long as we're all connected to the Father, though, it's all good, right? And I think that going forward, just you being obedient and you understanding the Holy Spirit's going to do what He does. Just get out, start doing some stuff. You building relationships, so somebody's going to help you out with something. Even when you were talking about like performance tracks and all that, it flashed back to a conversation that we had with Mission the first time we had him on the show. And same thing. He goes, I used to have to rap over my own songs that had my own rap in there. I didn't have the vocals taken out, but that's where I was. That's just where I started. I didn't have a DJ before. Then I got a DJ. Like it just you start where you are. You start to make steps, and then allow God to continue to have those steps. Because I watch anime a lot. Okay, but my mind is already kind of cartoonistic. So when people talk about God leading them in their steps, right? I literally in my head, the way that I picture it is I'm walking forward. I'm just walking forward, or I'm walking up a staircase, and I don't see the next step, but I know that God is going to put it there for me. So I'm just going to keep walking, knowing I'm going to land on a step. Now, that step might make me go up some stairs, so those steps might be a little hard, right? And then there's some steps that I'm going downstairs. I'm literally just, in my brain, the way I picture it, I'm just literally walking, to me, just forward. But the steps that God is putting before me is taking me up, it's taking me down, it's taking me right, it's taking me left, it's taking me all over the place. But I am just called to walk and just keep walking, however that might go. So that's how I see your obedience on that, bro.
No, I appreciate that. Listen again. I needed to hear that because I wouldn't have known you were going to share this. And again, there's no delete button here, so I'm accountable to you and people on here, and I really want to make sure I hold myself accountable to that. I just need to show up and God will just lead the way, so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I appreciate
sir.
that.
And we'll hold you accountable because we'll hit you up and be like, all right, Chiwaz, when's your next track so we can start spinning it on the show?
Yes, sir. Yo, listen about that. I don't operate, man. I think there's some gifted people out there, man, who release tracks every week. That's fantastic.
Right.
I've learned not to put pressure on myself in that sense. Usually, Adonai came out, I think, in February. I haven't done nothing since then. My family comes first, bro. That's
Amen.
just how it is.
Amen. Yep.
And I believe that when God, gives me that opportunity to get into the studio and worship, it makes sense. But my family really comes first. So
yeah,
I'm not that kind of person who would release 20 songs. I feel like I'm not even gifted enough to do that. But whenever God says I release a song, then it makes sense, So, but I am working on stuff for sure. But it's kind of slow.
Yep.
But it's coming. So
as long as it's coming, only took a year. It only took a year for a yes to come on. Oh, and it's just something out for you to come on the show.
Thanks, Nisha. No, that's another thing too, right? It takes me a while to kind of, I don't know. I shy away from stuff.
Yeah.
Because then again, you don't want to, and I know God leads these things, but you also don't want to lose people as well. We're all about building relationship as well. So
yeah, I
hope that's what we've done this evening. So yeah.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely, bro. I've enjoyed this conversation for sure. Definitely gonna hold you accountable by making sure that I post up these clips, these interviews,
Yes,
so that way when it gets out there, even if one person ends up seeing it, and then they follow
Yeah.
you, and then they be like, oh, yeah, okay, he said he's going to put out some more stuff. Cool. What else is he doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, hey, bro. Seriously, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. And thank your wife and your family on our behalf as well for your time, because you said it. Family time is very, very important, and especially setting aside time, right? Because we have to, as fathers, like we got to still do something, right? We have to keep moving forward, but at the same time, though, we don't want to waste our time. Like it's like, hey, I'll be a part of whatever God tells me to do and what I want to be a part of, but you only got so much time, and when I feel like I'm up, then it's like, okay, cool, we're done. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so
sir.
I appreciate you just even staying on even longer.
This has been
expected.
good. My wife knew it was coming, and she actually, I got back from work and I wanted to clean up. So I'm like, yo, there's going to be like stuff all over. I got home and my daughter was like, Daddy, we've got a surprise for you. And I was like, what's going on? So I came down here. My wife and my daughter, they had kind of made this place look, nice and presentable.
Come on.
Shout out to the wifey, man. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, bro. Bro. Listen,
yes,
as a husband, there ain't no other joy than when your wife is on board with the vision and plan that you are carrying out, because she can trust you, because you have shown consistently that you love the Lord and that you love her, and in that order. And so for me to even hear that, bro, like, no, I'm legit excited. Like, yo, that little thing of like, hey, Daddy, like, we got you. Like, we know that this is important and we want this for you. Woo!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's so dope. Shout out to her.
Shout out to the wifey. She's probably watching or dealing with our little one. Probably is awake still. So.
Hey, man, that's so dope, bro. That's so dope. Yes, all right, man. Well, hey, again, thank you so much for your time, bro. And we'll definitely make sure that it's not another year before you get back on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, bro. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Man. Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.